All right.
Sorry about that. All right, count it down again.
All right.
5.
The gamer, as we know him or her today, was born in the D&D era. This is according to Matt Barton, gamer and program designer, in his History of Computer Role-Playing Games. Many of the most popular computer games available today have their roots in games that existed well before the modern computer age. Today we'll explore the types of games that evolved into the modern computer game. How prevalent are modern computer games? A modern computer game takes hundreds of artists, programmers, and support staff, and according to IGDA online white paper, large-scale games are expensive with budgets ranging from $5 to over $30 million. What types of games evolved into computer gaming? The three primary types were miniatures gaming, role-playing games, and arcade-style video games. Let's start by looking at the elements of miniatures gaming, the precursor to almost all modern gaming. Classical historical miniature gaming was developed as a convenient way to teach military strategy. It first became popular in early 1800s era among Prussian nobility, and it featured historically accurate military units and realistic terrain. In the early 1980s, modern fantasy gaming was introduced by Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40K, in which they introduced fantasy and science fiction elements into the modern historical game. They introduced elves, dwarves, trolls, space marines, and aliens into the classic historical mix. And in 1993, Strategic Simulations Incorporated developed the Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate game for the PC. That game still exists in line, and as of 2014 had its most recent release as a massive multiplayer online game. But not all gamers were satisfied with miniatures gaming. Some lacked the resources to build the miniatures or to build the terrain, and others preferred the dramatic stories of the individual hero. According to Arthur C. Clarke, they felt the games lacked a sense of wonder, which is one word. It's the former and the last of these that drove the creation of and the progenitor of role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons. The rules derived from a miniatures game called Chainmail. The first version was called the Fantasy Game, and the first rules were hand-printed. To quote Dave Arneson, one of the founders, in a Wired.com article, "We printed off 150 copies of the game. The base of operation was Gygax's basement, and there wasn't a marketing budget. D&D would live and die by word of mouth." And so it did. By 1986, annual sales for the new company, Tactical Studies Rules, or TSR as it was more commonly known, had reached up to $16 million. The advantage of pencil and paper tabletop gaming was significant over miniatures gaming. It was lower cost, lower budget, faster to set up, and required less time. It also featured that because of its reliance on high-level thinking, according to Sarah Bowman of Functions of Role-Playing Games, it appealed to college students and more intellectual high school students. During this time, the single-player role-playing video games started to bring in elements of the classic D&D game, aspects such as rolling up characters, hit points, and leveling up. These elements are still found in many modern games such as Fallout, Elder Scrolls, even in Minecraft. Miniatures and role-playing games naturally evolved towards computers, but let's discuss the video game as the root of arcade games, or the arcade game as the root of video games. Computer games developed from old-style arcade games to PC and console-based games. The earliest games were arcade games that were graphics intensive. They had a limited interface, joysticks and buttons, and they were pay for play. You had to pump in quarters to get the game to work. Console games such as Atari and Sega became far more popular. They evolved quickly with chip-based electronics, and they leveraged the convenience of using the existing home television set as a screen. They also featured a wide variety of plug-in games that were both strategy and arcade-oriented. On the PC side, early text-based computer games began appearing, such as Zork, Monsters of Murdak, and even Oregon Trail. These simulated role-playing games through text interaction with the computer, and they offered few graphics, and eventually they evolved into the creation of MUDs, or multi-user dungeons. and online multi-user dungeons. The modern internet console and PC experience features high-definition television, computer quality, stereo quality sound, a real-time interface over internet access, and a lot of times voice over IP for immediate voice interaction, i.e. trash talking. Modern computer games represent the evolution of multiple forms of gaming brought together into a single experience through the use of computer technology. Computer role-playing games evolved to satisfy a wide cross-section of gamers. They satisfied the strategy of miniatures gaming, challenging my mind, the storytelling of role-playing, challenged my imagination, and the sensory stimulation and instant gratification of video games, satisfy my senses. The good news is that the original forms of gaming that contributed to the modern computer role-playing game have not been replaced. Instead, a wider population of prospective gamers has been introduced through computer role-playing games to a more diverse gaming world, which in the end represents a win for all gamers. Thank you.